So I think, and I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, will probably, I hope, agree with this, or certainly will think about it, that being a teacher aide is a bit of a balancing act, because you have responsibilities in terms of curriculum and supporting the actual academic progress of the student you're supporting, but you also have a strong role in supporting social inclusion and ensuring as much as you can that the students that you're working with have the best chance of social inclusion and the best chance of integrating into the school system, which really means integrating with their peers. And we know that, and I'm sure you've all experienced this, that there are children who perhaps teachers find a bit of a nightmare, but who the other children really like for lots of reasons, maybe because they're the class clown, or maybe because they're the one student who speaks up for them. There's lots of reasons why that happens. So I think the teacher aide in particular has roles that are less well defined than that of the teacher, and carry very different responsibilities. So one of the issues really when we think, or one of the ideas, strategies, I suppose, when we think about inclusion is buddy systems. Do they work? Do they help inclusion? Certainly they're very reassuring, and many schools have buddy systems, for when the schools move in when they're in what we would call transition here. The little ones are buddied up with usually a year 5 who looks out for them and sees that they're not crying on their way to the toilet or whatever. So there's been a bit of work. Kate Anderson had a look at this, at buddy systems, and at children who were identified and asked if they'd like to be the friend of the child with disability. And what she found was it's okay, it works okay, but the students, even students as young as 7, emphasised that adults, or the adult staff, needed to remember that they were peers and not carers. I thought that was pretty interesting, that quite young children make that difference and say, well, I'm happy to be with them, but I'm not their carer. I want to be able to play with other children. I don't want to have to help with some things. I don't want to feel that this is my job. And of course it's very hard for children, particularly I think probably for the children that are most likely to be asked to be buddies. It's very difficult for them to say, I don't want to. A, because it's hard to say that to an adult. Also, and children talked about this, it makes them feel perhaps like they're a bad person, or not a caring person. So if you're using a buddy system, and there certainly is a lot of positive effort in that, I think, it's very important, I think, that there's more than one buddy, so that no one child feels they're constantly tethered to the child they're supporting, but that there's several buddies, so people can be a buddy and do some things, and then they can go off and play with other children, which is of course what students do. I mean, these particularly in primary school, very intense friendships where you hang out with 1 or 2 or 3 people don't really develop until the very end of primary school or the beginning of high school for most children. One of the things that we know makes a very successful buddy, or helps a lot in helping children that need support integrate and be included, is to have friends that they've known for a long time. So children that go on to regular school who were together in preschool, or children that have been together since they started school, we know that their friends will say, oh, he's no different from us. I've known him for years. He likes to do this. Yes, he's in a wheelchair, but he hangs out, or, so that knowledge, as we know, knowledge improves and experience improves attitudes. And this is very important when we're looking at kids being included in classes. So I think we would say that teacher aides are the creative thinkers, and are constantly working out ways and looking for ways that students with a disability can be socially included, and that sometimes, or quite often, I think, means they have to stand back.